Welcome to the Goat Show, the show where we celebrate and debate all things great. My name is Zilly, aka Ravine. I am joined by my co-hosts, Fresh and Deezy. Gentlemen, welcome. Fellas, I'm wondering, are y'all feeling like warriors today? Are y'all ready to fight the good fight?
We make no peace with evil.
All right, well, that's good to know because sometimes I wonder, am I that person when evil comes knocking on my door, you know, nation crosses my radar, am I gonna be there to fight for the good fight, or am I gonna cave? I don't know, but you know what? Who might know is our guest today, who we are interviewing in just a moment. But before we do, Fresh, what do the people out there, the people who want to fight for good, the warriors out there, what do they got to do today?
You gotta like, subscribe, hit the bell, drop a comment, and send it to everybody, man.
Exactly. And if you do consider yourself a warrior, or you're someone who wishes to be braver than you are now, you definitely need to watch this episode because we have an amazing guest today. Our guest today is none other than Boba Fett. All right, Boba, good to see you. I know you're pretty brave. I know you're a warrior. No, no. We don't have the Mandalorian today. What we do have today is a gentleman by the name of Tyler Gibson. Tyler, or as he's known on Instagram, Warrior Ty, is indeed a warrior of many different facets. Dude, you have a like colorful kind of career and history. So first off, mixed martial artist. So all y'all mixed martial arts people out there, this dude, if you see him on the gram, he's out here fighting. All right, he's doing something out in these streets. He's training hard. I mean, I'm intimidated. If I didn't know you personally, I'd be like, I ain't gonna mess with this guy. So MMA fighter, MMA coach. You're also someone that has a background in intelligence. Interesting, very interesting work there. A background in fighting human trafficking, being a part of the fight against human trafficking. So that's I can't wait to get into that. Although I know it's going to be maybe pretty dark and harrowing, but that's something amazing that we're going to get into. And then the most interesting thing that we talked about a lot when we hung out through mutual friends. You are someone who believes in the power of psychedelics and animals and nature in healing veterans with PTSD, or just in general healing, anyone that may be undergoing PTSD. So, and you know a tremendous amount about that. So we're going to get into that today. So if any of those topics are of interest to those watching out there, then keep watching because this is going to be amazing. But before we get into all that, do you prefer Tyler? Do you prefer Ty? How do you prefer people address you?
You can call me Tyler. Tyler works, Ty, whatever, man. Yeah, I've been called way worse than that. So yeah. Speaking of that, I also have a Baby Yoda tattoo here and a Mandalorian. So
Oh man! All right, so we'll get. I do want to learn about your Star Wars. I don't know if it would be an obsession or an interest or whatever, but we'll get into that in a second. But before we do, what I wanted to ask you, which is what we ask every guest who comes on the show, is if you could have any superpower, what would you choose?
ooh, that's a good one. Uh, Probably flying. I mean, I think flying is the ultimate superpower. I think everybody would want to just be able to just get up and go, like flying, universe, space, all that type of stuff. Um,
Man, I would have thought you would have said the Force.
I mean, I'm already dealing with the dark side over here. So, I don't want to, I got that superpower already. So, no. But yeah, no, I mean, that's a tough one. I really, when I read that, I hadn't thought about that before because it's like you see Marvel and they get a bunch of superpowers. They're either like super fast, super strong, and that. And if you have to pick one, like, what would it be?
Well, I mean, I would say also the ability to heal in your end because I know that's what you do with different people.
Yeah. I almost said that one, but that was a little like selfless. I was trying to be a little selfish with that answer. Like, which one does Tyler want? So yeah,
Man, that's some Dark Sith Lord stuff.
yeah. No. So Order 66 on my knuckles right here. So
Normally, I would just be like, "Where are you from? What you do?" And I want to know all that stuff. But let's talk about Star Wars, okay? Since you got the Boba Fett helmet,
And then Sith Lord over here.
so are you an OG? Like when did the Star Wars thing start for you?
Later in life, man, after the military, it was really big for me. Just kind of like Anakin. I'm just a giant Anakin fan. Like, and I'll show, this is my Anakin tattoo right here. So I got a couple different versions of Anakin over here, and then Clone Wars. But yeah, no, I mean, I think the Force might be, or people might think Star Wars is a little nerdy, but for me, I mean, when you meet people, energy, darkness, light, you meet people whose energy is just apparent. Especially after the military, I think, you can slip into those dark side, that pain, fear, suffering, all that type of stuff that Yoda talks about. And if you're not careful, you can stay in that dark area for a while. So, you got to find the light, but you got to realize that you can't have both. Like, can't have the light without the dark, can't have the dark without the light. So, balance, always finding balance.
So what does Order 66 mean to you?
Oof. It means that anybody around you at any time, no matter what, except for my mom, she's the best, can turn around and take you out, be ready to go. So I think, trusting people is one thing, but always having, I'm also a big Game of Thrones fan. So Littlefinger, when he's talking to Sansa Stark and he says, always be ready for anything at all times, always think of all things, all possibilities, so nothing surprises you. I think for me, that's you know, you start thinking people are good, and I'll talk about it later, but we had some, green on blue attacks, and we had some interpreters turn around and shoot guys. So, I mean, to me, that's exactly Order 66. Guys that you've been in battle with all of a sudden turn around and are like, oh, I'm just following orders. Good soldier follows orders. So, big Clone Wars fan too. So yeah, I mean, anything Star Wars.
Wow. Okay. Well, let's get into your story, man. Because as much as I love Star Wars, I feel like your story is maybe more compelling. So let's do. Where did you grow up? What's your, were you always in? So I met you. The way I know you is from being out here in Jacksonville.
Right, right.
We hung out. We actually did something healthy, if you can believe that. We actually went and walked, if you can believe that, by the beach. Like it's not even. We weren't even partying or anything. Um, but I met you through some mutual friends, and that's how we sort of started having a conversation. Then
Oh, he's Indian. Did he try to hold your pinky?
Yeah, right. He did try and sell me a Slurpee, but no.
hey, man, I gotta make ends meet somehow.
HR is gonna burn me again, so I've been HR's best friend for a long time, so it's always gonna happen.
Look, we're equal opportunity. I don't know, trolls out here.
People are like, I hate on everybody equally. Like I hate people mostly. So if you tell me I don't like animals, that's when we have a problem. If you tell me I don't like some people, I'm like, I probably can see that point of view. Do you see that?
And you're definitely an animal lover. And I definitely want to talk about that. Yeah.
So I was born in California. My dad went to the Naval Academy. My dad was a Navy pilot. Flew F-18s, flight school, all that type of stuff. And then got stationed here when I was like two years old at Cecil Field. And then, my parents got separated and we stayed here. So, I pretty much grew up my whole life in Orange Park, Fleming Island area. And then, minus when I joined the Air Force, 20 years old, pretty much Jacksonville.
Jacksonville all the way. Growing up, when did the fighting, was that a thing that came early to you? Was it, or what, did it come later?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I was a fat kid. I was, eating Burger King. Yeah, I was a fat kid, getting bullied and picked on, man. I look like I was probably, so that contributed to, I'll get into how that affected later. But yeah, no, I was not athletic at all. I mean, playing around with my friends, and I had an older brother who also used to kind of pick on me too. But I no, I played golf in high school on the golf team. So everyone's like, "Oh, you must have been doing this and that." I'm like, absolutely nothing of super physical nature and before I joined the military. So
Interesting. Okay, so we'll come back to the MMA stuff then later, since that came later on. I mean, you said your dad was in the Air Force. Was that always something or in the Navy? Sorry. Was that something that was always in the back of your mind growing up that you might join the military, or was that something that came later, or how did that land on your radar?
I didn't think I was going to join the military. I don't think it ever occurred to me. I mean, I my dream job when I was younger, when I was first, I was a big fan of the movie Free Willy. So I love that, orcas. I mean, obviously I've been close to animals since I was younger. So I really wanted to be like a trainer. And then I saw the movie Blackfish later and I was like, ooh, that's pretty bad. Like SeaWorld's a, you know, no go. So yeah, but no, I wanted to work with animals since I was young. And then I decided I kind of wanted to work with the FBI. So, um,
What inspired that? I mean, it seems like kind of a jump from going from animals to the FBI.
I don't know. Maybe 9/11, I think might have changed. I mean, that was sort of a later change, but also that, veterinarians don't get paid very much and girls don't. Well, I mean, now I probably should have stuck with veterinarians, but I thought FBI was way more badass. So,
Yeah, yeah. So what led to you joining? I guess the Air Force is where. Is that correct? Like, I mean, what led from FBI to Air Force? Like, how did that all happen for you?
so I was going to college for criminal justice, trying to do the route. Actually sit back. I went to do pilot training because I kind of wanted to do what my dad did, even though I did it for a little bit, didn't like it. And I was more like, oh, hey, my dad's a pilot, so let me continue legacy. Didn't like that. So always kind of wanted to be a cop. I like the good versus evil, hence where my Star Wars thing comes into play. Also a big Lord of the Rings fan. So you don't want to talk anything nerd, I'm game for that. But yeah, no, I was going to college for criminal justice and fucking around, smoking weed all day. Now you can do that, and back then you can't really do that. Well, I wasn't being productive in smoking weed. I was smoking weed and sitting around doing nothing. So my dad's like, "Hey, all this money and things that I set aside for you to go to college, it's gone. You're not doing." So he was like, "Figure out something." And I was like, well, if I join the Air Force, then I can do that and, kind of get my way into the FBI from there. But yeah, it was pretty much my dad being like, no more free ride, buddy.
So you chose the Air Force, and because I didn't realize this, and I should have known because we've had a guest on the show in the past uh, uh, that was also I believe in Air Force intelligence, and so I should have remembered. But with all this UAP stuff coming out, it seems like Air Force is where all the real intelligence, like crazy stuff is happening with all the like psychics and all this shit and UAP and all that stuff. So how did you go from, you join the Air Force? When does the sort of window to join the intelligence side of the Air Force, like what is that process? I don't even know. Do you join, and then what are the steps to join the intelligence community?
Well, it's a hard process to like get through. So I did pretty well on the ASVAB. So I had, pretty much whatever job choice I wanted.
What's the ASVAB?
ASVAB is like the dumb or smart test for the military. Basically, like it's got math and science on there, some like mechanical engineering stuff, some, you know, and it just lets them know like, hey, should I give you a gun or put you in front of a computer? I mean, I guess that's
Interesting. What's the acronym? I think I said it wrong. What was the actual?
ASVAB. Yeah, I don't really know. Honestly, I don't know the like breakdown of it. But yeah, no, it's the standardized test. Like it's funny because Marines and Army, love my Marines and Army brothers, don't mean to talk shit. They know they talk shit about the chair force more than anybody. So we all love each other. But yeah, no, they got waivers for people. If you get like a 35 or lower, they have to give you a waiver to get in because that means like you might even be too stupid to like pull the trigger. So no, when I joined was 2008. So still, 9/11's real hot on everybody's mind. We're war on terror, all that stuff's going on. So yeah. But yeah, no, back to the process. Sorry. You'll see that I jump around a lot. Also, ADHD since I was a kid. So I'm all over the place. But yeah, no, just kind of lead me back to the flock, and I'll get going on. But yeah, no, so I thought, FBI, Intel, get a clearance, blah blah blah, that stuff. Which is the hardest part of the process is you have to have a TS clearance to get into the intelligence field. So top secret clearance, yeah, and that's another thing. Y'all are gonna have to remind me when I use acronyms. I might use several. So yeah, TS clearance. So there's secret, top secret, and then there's TSSCI, which is specialized compartmented information, which is probably where they kept that UAP stuff when I was in, because I tried looking for all that. It's like we had Sipper, Nipper, and TS computers, Sipper, secret intelligence networking platform, different computers where you can read secret information or you can read top secret information. Actually, JWIX was the platform, now that I remember it. Some of the stuff I put away, never thought I'd have to use again, but it's good to, remember some of the good things that were about it. But yeah, no. Um, yeah. Yeah. So number one, I really did try when that was hot. I'm like, I got on some secret computers, and I'm like, I'm gonna find some stuff. Like, I gotta know. And of course, they're not gonna be that sloppy with anything. And a lot of times when I meet people and tell them I worked Intel, that's the first question they ask me.
Let me actually, I have a question for you because there on the internet, I feel like there's like two things that people say simultaneously that are contradictory, right? On the one hand, they're like government is super incompetent, so it's not capable of keeping all these secrets and blah blah. And then the other side, they're like, yeah, and then but on the other side, everybody believes that like the CIA and all these intelligence agencies, they know all this stuff and they're not telling anybody. I mean, where do you sit on that? Like, how does that kind of work?
I see a lot of conspiracy theory people and that type of thing talking. I'm like, you really think that they would keep that secret? Like, I mean, there's whistleblowers, I mean, if you look at a lot of the intelligence leaks, I forget the name of the girl. She was an Air Force intel. She worked at the NSA, but printing up secret documents and that type of thing, bringing them out about you have Edward Snowden, that type of thing. So, I mean, there's always going to be whistleblowers. So I don't know how people would keep things. I don't think the government's competent enough to keep secrets. I don't think human behavior is competent enough to keep secrets. So when it comes to that stuff, I mean, unless there's somebody competent cleaning up those messes that get leaked.
You don't think that humans are just like we see things and the next week we don't care? So like because we have been leaked a whole bunch of stuff a lot of times, right? So I mean, even if it's true,
Outrage Nation, man. Whatever's got your attention now. Yeah, I mean,
I feel like it's just always also not all of the information. A lot of it is always so vague. So like it's up for speculation, and then people come up with a ton of different ideas on what the heck possible answer is, that's and then it's just on to the next thing.
yeah. So I mean, answer probably not. I mean, I took my pretty seriously because I didn't want to go to Leavenworth, which is military jail, which is like super max. Like a lot of those people who leaked that stuff, obviously Snowden didn't because he just flew to Russia. But yeah, I mean, it's written on everything. If you bring anything out, you do any of that, you straight to jail, like straight to jail.
Right to jail, right away.
To answer your question, yeah, no, I don't think people can keep secrets. Terrible.
So in your when you I guess you go through a series of tests and do they recruit you or
No. I mean, Intel is more of like a pipeline. So when you go to, you get, assigned a job, and it's harder to get in. So they do a background check. I mean, like they sent people to talk to my high school teachers, like, hey, was he in any communist groups in high school? Was he, did he talk about, how great he thought Osama bin Laden was and all those type of things? Like, I mean, they have to do their diligence, but more of it, the background check thing was for like, so you can't be bribed. So you can't have debt, like credit card, you know, anything like that. Because if you have $5,000 in debt, and here comes Boris, you know, Ruskafakan from Russia and says, "You tell me where Obama's plane lands. I pay your debt. It's gone." And then that debt is a lot to you. You know, you're holding your family up. You're going to give them that information. So they don't want you to be susceptible to, you know, bribery or information like that. So that was the main type of thing.
As a taxpayer, fucking pay the intelligence off. Just pay their debts. If you're gonna hire an intelligence agent and they have debt, pay that shit. What is it, 50 grand? Whatever, pay it.
The main thing for us was the honeypot trap, man. And so I'll explain a little bit, but like, if you have a pretty girl trying to talk to you, Russians, that's what they do, man. Russians and Chinese, they get really pretty girls. Who likes to talk more than a drunk military dude? I mean, it's been since World War II. Drunk in a bar, start talking about, oh, that's how we got secrets from the Germans was, you know, drunk Germans in a bar talking shit. I mean, you know, just like Inglourious Bastards, you know, when he said 3, you know, you're in there getting intel. That's, you know, on the ground. You know, that type of stuff has been since forever. So yeah, but I forget where we were going with that. So like, I'll go off on all ways. And I did a lot of public speaking. So for me, like talking in front of people and like that type of thing it doesn't make sense to me. Like, you know more than people. So, well, I know sometimes I don't. I like to think I do, but I tell myself otherwise. But, you know, especially when you're giving a presentation in Intel, we do a lot of presentations. So yeah, public speaking was always something that was easy for me too.
Oh, that's fascinating. Yeah, I never thought about that. Intelligence, you got to be able to communicate, right? I mean, it's all communications. So
PowerPoint Rangers was our other nickname. You know, got to be ready to brief. I mean, Death by PowerPoint was another thing in the military. Everything, safety briefings, debriefings, briefings, all PowerPoint.
is there anything that you can, I mean, obviously you don't want to get you or us in trouble, but is there anything that you can talk about in your intelligence kind of?
I was part of a couple pretty good. So my first duty assignment, I think that's what we were talking about first. So yeah, you get selected in the field. They send you to school. I went to Goodfellow Air Force Base in like the middle of nowhere, Texas for 7 months. They teach you how to, and Intel school is really different from where you get to your assignment. Like the school is really broad in intelligence. It's more of like analyst work, like, hey, flight planning, flight operations, that type of thing. And then you can get to a duty like I did that was in Southern Command, which was counter narcotics, counterinsurgency. So straight to Colombia, South America, intelligence, all that type of thing. So counterinsurgency, counter guerrilla, the FARC rebel group that was down there. We had a couple U.S. hostages that were running around the jungle for, I say that really bad. My dark humor is going to bleed into a lot of stuff that we talk about. And people are like, yo, this dude's, but I'm like, hey, if you can't laugh at things, you're going to be really tough to deal with what I see and what I do. So there's probably some sort of Freudian psychological explanation for that, but save that for another day. But yeah, no. So we had an intelligence plane go down in Colombia. The FARC rebel group kidnapped Ingrid Betancourt, who was a French presidential candidate at the time, and then Keith Standstill, a U.S. Marine, a couple other U.S. contractors who were on that, went down. Plane crashed right in the middle of a FARC guerrilla group in the jungle. So yeah, so we were in charge of trying to get the intel on where they were, signals intelligence, figure out like, hey, ended up kind of stealing the signal of where they were at. Pretended to be a first aid. What's that?
Red Cross or something like that?
Red Cross. There you go. Red Cross. Pretended to be a Red Cross and like saying, hey, we want to get some medical help to these people. Well, got them into a helicopter and it was U.S. people and Colombia National Police. And so right when they thought that they were like, oh, hey, we're going to check out, they pulled their mask off, beat everyone and told the hostages like, hey, we're with the U.S., we're with Colombia. You guys are free now. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, you know, a lot of people don't think about South America being war, intelligence. Now it's hot. Venezuela's a hot thing.
Yeah, so I was gonna ask you because we got Venezuela and you got, say, Mexico as well, right? So, what are your thoughts on U.S. intervention? I mean, what are your thoughts on U.S. intervention in Venezuela in this?
Man, I'm when I was younger, and everyone probably knows, you see these veterans from that are hippies, become hippies straight out of smoking weed, ponytail. Like, well, how could you go from being, this, that, and you see once you get connected to violence and you're part of the American imperialism, and I will use the word imperial because sometimes I feel like FN 2187 and not really, a stormtrooper instead of more like a Jedi, like I like to feel. But yeah, Venezuela has been a shit show for a long time. That was one of my duties, was to sort of watch the Russian growing influence in there. I mean, they have Russian fighter jets, they have Sukhois, they have, a lot of their equipment is Venezuela. Also, Venezuela's military shit. Their country's shit. Sorry, it is. I know Venezuelans. Their military readiness, their morale, it's all shit. Everybody's ready to give us somebody to lead. I mean, there's no so yeah, Venezuela.
I mean, do you think that we could? I mean, of course, it's in the. I mean, it's a pretty obvious now. We want regime change there, or at least our government. Do you feel like that can be achieved and can be done in a way that is?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to. We thought about it back then. We had plans. Hugo Chavez was president back then. Nicolas Maduro now was his sort of counterpart. Was a bus driver at one time. You know, we've been trying to think about regime change everywhere. But so I'll draw people's attention to Benghazi. You had Muammar Gaddafi. You take him out, and then you have no plan for what's going on. So you have a bunch of gangs, you have lawlessness, you create a power vacuum. So yeah, do we want regime change? Yeah, but who's going to take over? Saddam, the same thing. Took out Saddam. Iraq has been what now? So sometimes the big bad wolf is the biggest, baddest wolf, and he keeps things straight. And it may not be the wolf that we like, but it's the wolf that you need. If that makes sense. So those decisions are left to bigger and better men. I like to quote movies a lot, so that's another Bruce Wayne type of quote. I leave those problems to bigger and better men. But yeah, I mean, we wanted Hugo Chavez there for a while, passed away, went to Maduro. So yeah, no, we can't. They have a lot of oil, they have a lot of influence. The Russians were there, they're still there, so we can't let that sit and be a problem. American never let anything sit. So
I guess it's better the devil you know than the one you don't. But
exactly.
so speaking of Mexico, so another part of your, I believe, part of your intelligence work was battling human trafficking. When did that land on your radar? How did, I mean, what can you say about that?
So I mean, that's always when I spoke a little bit about being a bullied kid, picked on, that type of thing. Good versus evil. So I mean, naturally, children and animals is always the most innocent thing on the planet. So anything that threatens that, to me, if you're a like I mentioned, wolf, you're a sheepdog, you're anything like that, you automatically gravitate towards wanting to protect that, things that can't protect themselves. So honestly, it was just kind of, I think, to catch a predator, those cases is just watching those dudes walk in. I saw military dudes, like what people just everyday fathers, and then walk in to meet, hand Jack in the Box meeting a young kid. Like what's the issue with these people? Like, I don't care what the issue is. You failed at life. You're trying to mess around with a minor or a kid. Like you need to go talk to God now. That's not my problem. you failed at life. You hurt animals, especially you hurt children. Like you fail. Like that's, I mean, like I said, the two of the most innocent things on the planet for me. So yeah, I mean, just seeing, and then a lot of Air Force guys, a lot of intel people getting busted with child porn and things like that. It's like just
Yeah, what is that? That and like yeah, intelligent, like in the Pentagon, and these. I mean,
And you show a picture, and you're like, that guy looks like a pedophile, and you're like, how did nobody not know this before? You know, like
yeah. Why is that?
why anybody when you see a picture, you know, there might be some psychology behind that, but when you see it in your person, you're like, how did this dude make it to, you know, 28 years old and nobody was like, that dude looks like a child? We need to look into this guy a little bit more. So, I mean, yeah, but I mean, like I said, human trafficking and Yellowstone, watching that kind of reinvigorated for me. Seeing on the Indian reservations that Native American people go missing at a disproportionate amount, especially American young women. Yeah, so that was a thing in the show, and you know, I think it's just people don't care about Native Americans, and I'm not saying me. Those I like them more than other people. So, you know, but it's there's just a lot of evil and a lot of things that slip through. It's hard for me to think about, but it was always like, got something to do. We got a duty mission.
Right, right. So what when you is your role as an intelligence analyst, what kind of actions are taken to combat human trafficking? What kind of missions? How does that whole system work, and how do they find these people and bring them to justice?
And so paper trail, you know, IP address, a lot of that type of thing. And I talked a little bit about Colombia earlier, but there was a lot of people hiding things like using Xbox platforms like Xbox. I don't know, you have the headset or the games. Not really a video game guy, so excuse my little bit. Except I did play Call of Duty, honest. But so yeah, paper trail, or excuse me, computer trails, IP addresses. They, you know, things get posted online of where somebody's, you know, a picture of a young girl, and they're able to look at the footprint of where that picture was taken, kind of go trace it back, and then down the chain talking to people where that intel came from. Yeah, it's people, criminals are messy. There's always a trail of pictures and people. Trying to think, there was a movie recently too, Children of God or something like that. I believe was a pretty eye-opening movie. Also took place in Colombia. The thing is, human trafficking and child trafficking is something that's not new. It's just like he mentioned earlier. Now we're paying attention to it, which is a great thing to pay attention to. Obviously, there's things we shouldn't. Anything to do with the Jenners or Kardashians, just take it away. Child trafficking, you know, that type of thing. Anything important, we need to pay attention to. But yeah, I mean, it's not as flashy and it's dark, so we don't want to look at the darkness.
So, well, I mean, that's something I wanted to bring up, which is that, and it can kind of lead into what we're going to talk about in a little bit. Is you know, those kind of jobs where you deal with really dark subject matter, and we don't have to repeat all the things here, obviously, but it's grisly, man. You know, there's some documentaries on YouTube I've watched, and it's shocking. It's like holy and it's not just like and not that anything's justified, but I'm saying, like, I think for most normal people, they imagine it's like maybe it's like a teenager or something. This is like really sick, really demented, evil shit and violent stuff. It's really, really crazy. And I don't know, I guess maybe we just because of the internet, things that weren't the access is, you know, what it is a much different story now than it was. But going back to what you were talking about and what we mentioned earlier in the show about people dealing with PTSD. I have to imagine that people who deal with this kind of work, who do this kind of thing, they see awful things and it affects them deeply. Did you ever experience that? Did you know people that did? And what does that look like? You know, what
Oh yes. So I am a current PTSD, you know, disabled veteran. Government sends me a check every type of month, type of thing. So, yeah, I mean, like you said, our you just can't do things like that on a daily basis and not be. If you are, you're a sociopath. Those type of people are sociopaths. Those are, you know, borderline personality disorder. Those are Ted Bundy type people. If you can't, if that doesn't bring some sort of emotional reaction inside you out, then yeah.
I was just gonna say, do you think that the intelligence agencies look for that type of person when they're hiring? Because I mean, there, I mean, it could kind of seems like there's a lot of those types of people in intelligence.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense. The computer type of thing, people who don't really have human skills, they're more computer skill oriented. So, I mean, there's definitely some sort of psychological connection to pedophilia and that type of thing and wanting to reclaim childhood. Who knows? That's not my business. My business is those people are sick. You already messed with a kid or you did something illegal, you know. Um, yeah. Oh yeah, no, I don't think they do. I don't. You know, maybe not. I hope not. I mean, no,
I imagine you take a couple personality tests before you get hired.
yeah. Man, I've met so many smart people in the intelligence field, and I also met some dumb motherfuckers. I'm like, how the fuck did you get into this job? Like, I mean, I think in all walks of life, I mean, you meet somebody like, how did you get? We've all had bosses where you're like, how is this dude my boss? I'm like, what the? How is this guy my boss? But you know, I think luck and knowing people and things like that play into it. So, no, to answer your question directly, no. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'm like, we gotta have a task force to look at all this dark stuff. I'm like, where the psychos at? Better get them in the military in this task force than out in these streets doing crazy stuff. You know what I'm saying? I don't know.
Well, that's what I love. That's what I like about the serial killer. I forget what the name of that Ted Bundy movie that Zac Efron did, but that's to me like that's the most psychologically interesting thing is if you met a monster, would you know they were a monster? I mean, a lot of times once you see a picture of someone and you know what they did, it's kind of like, oh yeah, like then that causation equals correlation type of thing. But yeah, no, I mean, a lot of times you just don't think that those people are monsters. Ted Bundy looked like a nice guy, handsome, had a girlfriend.
I mean, that's part of the MO, right? They learn how to be, how to put on the veneer of being a nice person or an unassuming person. Um, but going back to what you're talking to what we're talking about. But I'm assuming that most of the people on these task force, they're just people like anybody else. They're working.
Yeah, I mean, husbands, fathers, people that in every job, I think you have a walk of life of people that do it because it's a paycheck. They do it because either they're in that position and they don't want to change. Maybe they wanted to do it at one time, or people that are really passionate about it, or find their passion while they're doing it. Yeah, I mean, met all types of people in Intel work. There's just no type of person. Whereas like fighter pilots, I feel like there is a type of person. You gotta be a type A, you gotta be a Top Gun Maverick type of person. Intel, more of like, okay, there's different types there's SIGINT, imagery, all source, which was me. So like putting it all together, um, computer type people. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many. I think in a certain job, like being a fighter pilot and things, you got to be a SEAL, special operator, those type of things. You got to be like a type A, like have a chip on your shoulder, type of thing. But when it comes to Intel, I think if you're just smart, I think if you can analyze and think outside the box, that's what I felt like made me good at it. Is it's not black and white. There's gray, and then there's light gray, and then there's 500 shades of light gray in there, and then there's a bunch of different ways. So,
But so, but going back to the people who work the human trafficking task force or whatever. They see a lot of dark stuff. They're dealing with dark things all day. Is there a high, did a lot of them get PTSD, or is it just depends on the person, or what do you think?
well, it depends. PTSD is a really mitigating factor of like your brain chemistry and are you predisposition to it. There's a really good book. Gosh, I'm gonna forget the name of it now, but The Body Keeps Score is a good PTSD type of book, and It talks about two people in a car accident, a husband and a wife. They were in a pileup, and they were in the car. Smoke started pouring in, and the husband freaked out, and was trying to get his wife out, and she's just frozen, like stuck in there. They ended up getting somebody to pull her out, but finally got her out, saved her life. But later on, they both were diagnosed with PTSD pretty bad, but hers was a little bit different. She didn't have panic attacks and that type of thing. Whereas if he smelled smoke or in traffic, he got those triggers, and she just would disassociate, just, completely. And it turned out that when she was younger, her mother was really hard on her, abusive, that type of thing. And that was her coping mechanism, was to just disassociate from her mom. So he had never had any trauma or anything like that. So for him, it was survival instinct, panic, sweats, I'm freaking out, that type of thing. So, I mean, does that bother you? Does it bother you to look at images of that and stuff? Yes, I think it bothers me. Does it fall to a clinical diagnosis of, okay, now I have symptoms that show, post-traumatic stress disorder? Do I just have generalized anxiety disorder, that type of thing? I mean, PTSD, and that's a terrible thing too, because if you don't really have symptoms and you don't feel like it is, you may not ask anybody for help or talk to people because you don't feel like you meet that threshold that other people have had, or freaking out and that type of thing. So yeah, there's a lot of stereotypes and myth behind PTSD. People getting benefits and writing the VA and saying, yeah, I have this event that really makes me freak out and brings me back to that. But okay, so it's not an event, but it's an entire career of fucked up shit that you've seen, but it's not PTSD. So we're not going to give you, 60% or whatever it is, because it's not PTSD. But you're all fucked up from the military, but it's not one specific event. So yeah, no, I mean, I think there's a good. To answer your question, I don't think everyone gets PTSD. Some people are just hard motherfuckers too. Like, some shit doesn't bother them. Sometimes I'm like, people think I'm a hard motherfucker, but shit bothers me deeply. A lot of shit bothers me very deeply. And I think also too, once you have PTSD or you've been through trauma, you feel things deeply. You see emotions and you see other people's interactions, and you feel that so much more deeply. Going through breakups and things like that. People are like, "Oh, that's not really a big deal." Like, in my head, that's a fucking big deal, dude. Like, like, I know it's not a big deal. The trick is to tell me inside my head that it's not a fucking big deal. Like, I think that's, for all soldiers, we know things aren't a big deal, but to us, to your central nervous system that says danger, threat right now, that's a fucking big deal. Somebody tailgating you, somebody, little things that come with PTSD. So yeah, and some people just don't get it. There's a lot of operators I know that have been in combat. There's people who don't have anything. So it's like, I think there's so many mitigating factors. At the same time, you're like, why doesn't that person have it when I do? It's a self-deprecating circle, but all chemistry. It's all brain chemistry, unfortunately. I don't mean to be a buzzkill, so
No, that's good to know, because I think there is a perception of what it is in society and from movies or things like that, and a lot of people assume that just because you're in combat, you're going to be this, whatever. So it's good to know that it just PTSD is like anything else, like it affects different people in different ways, and it's important to know that and deal with each case, in the way that it needs to be dealt with. Which brings me to what you do in terms of working with people, or I think that's something that you're talking about, something you really want to do more of in the future, is working with veterans with PTSD on some different alternative therapies. Um, so let's come back to the MMA stuff, because do you feel like that's a way that physical fitness and activity and these things help with dealing with PTSD?
yeah. I wish I would have found yoga before I found MMA, because maybe I would have been some cool like hippie yoga dude instead. But MMA was really. Once I got in the military, staying in shape is a big deal. And where I was at in Tucson, home Dominic Cruz, a lot of UFC fighters and stuff there that I ended up training with. But yeah, so just going to a boxing gym, went to a Mexican boxing gym. Nobody spoke English. I was the only white dude in there. But, fighting is one of those things where you don't got to speak English. If you're in there and you're getting hit and real recognize real to be. So yeah, fighting became like a thing for me to just, number one, it was fitness. And then number two, it was prove myself, like, okay. And I had this chip on my shoulder from when I was a kid. And then now I see all these things at work and you deal with this. So now I'm going to go home and I'm going to do it in an environment that I can beat the shit out of somebody that wants to, or that can probably beat the shit out of me. Most of the time was me getting my ass kicked. So that's how people ask how I got to be good at fighting or doing that. I'm like, well, for the first year, I got beat up a lot. So just learning how to like sit in that fight or flight zone. So yeah. And then MMA now and boxing, is just something that I have to working out. Yoga has been something that I've gotten into recently. A lot of good yoga studios here in Jacksonville. I think that needs to be talked about more for veterans. More holistic. Just stop giving us fucking SSRIs and Zoloft and shit like that. So, but yeah, no, back to fighting. Yes, got into it. It was awesome. Had some pretty bad concussions to where I went and sat on a computer and I typed really fast and I was like, this is hard to do. And I'm like, oh my God, like, this is your brain, man. You get one of them, like, and I'm, 28 at the time and I'm trying to sit and do Intel work. And I just got punch drunk, at lunchtime and back in there. And I'm like, this might not be something I want to do. So, but it looks badass and you get a lot of girls in the UFC. So when you're young in the military, that's all you want to do. Yeah, no, fighting still, I think it's important for people to have that outlet, but I wish it wasn't so physical for me. So, yeah.
I always tell people that it's one of the best ways you can fucking, even if it's just not even to compete, just get out. You have anxiety or anger or angst or stress or something, you have something that you need to get out. I mean, learning how to punch, fight, defend yourself, and taking all of that aggression out in a, safe way is super helpful. I think it's therapeutic in itself.
Clearly not so safe though, bro. And when he couldn't use the computer afterwards.
Yeah, I'm not talking about competing. It's a totally different game when you're going against someone that's like strictly trying to kill you versus like two people who are equally just, sparring in a gym, training, practicing, trying to better themselves and hitting that bag, getting your aggression out, man. It's super good.
And then, people like say, oh, I'm bad, but there's dudes in jujitsu that can make you look super stupid real fast. I mean, like, and I'm not even talking big guys. That's why jujitsu, like you said, jujitsu is the great equalizer. Doesn't matter your size or your experience or whatever. If you can roll, Joe Rogan, I think there's that Joe Rogan quote. It's like, well, so what's it about you? Well, if we get into a fight, I can kill you. That's the Joe Rogan quote. And that's, the truth of it. Like, or I can not be killed. I know enough to, first, I'm going to stay out of that fight. That's the main thing. That's what I've learned from being a fighter and around a lot of fighters. You can walk away, man. Like, you don't have to like be that. I've had drunk dudes talk shit into me in a bar and I'm like, that's great, man. Your dick's huge. You're a badass. If you want me to tell your girl you're a better man than me, I'll do it. Like, that's fine. There's no reason for me to get into a bar fight because you're drunk and somewhere in your little ego you want to say something to somebody. So, yeah. I'm pacifist first.
Do you think even if something were escalated, you would still be trying to like you would probably go for jujitsu, for a hold, for something to like stop the combat, versus like just like head kick, elbow,
Yeah, that's always my first I'm gonna put you to sleep. Like, I don't want to have your arms or anywhere where you can get a gun or anything like that. I mean, um, or you're gonna take you down and choke you out some way. Somebody who's asleep or can temporarily take them out of consciousness is not gonna be a problem at all. So yeah, punching. I don't want to break my hand, and there's fighters that have hit somebody and that person died and they're in jail. So like, why would you do any of that stuff? It just seems like a risk to me. I'm all about risk management, so I'm always thinking about risk. An analyst brain never turns off. That's why weed's good.
I meant to ask you, did you compete throughout your training?
Yeah. So I started off like amateur boxing, then I did, amateur MMA fights. I stepped away from fighting really like full time when I got that kind of really bad concussion. I texted my friend when I got home from practice one day that I was ready. Like, does he still want me to give him a ride? And he was like, dude, we already went. He's like, you got hit pretty hard. Are you okay? And I'm like, ooh, like I said, those couple instances of where your brain's really like, there's some, I mean, your main computer is offline. Your main thing that helps you function in life is malfunctioning. So that thing that's causing that problem, you're kind of like, yeah, that's fine. But would I go back and change it? Absolutely not. It was fun as fuck. I mean, you get the shit out of people. So yeah.
How does fighting help with therapy for things like PTSD and those types of things?
I mean, your control, the central nervous system, your fight or flight response. It's anything you're getting keyed up about is kind of a big deal. So fighting and learning how to control and breathe and that type of thing. I think it takes the ego away from things a lot too. So yeah, fighting, it's a great, you got to fight. I mean, you need people that are aggressive but you got to know when to fight. So my mom will love me saying that type of shit. So
I feel like for the most part, mixed martial arts, the culture teaches discipline. So people generally don't go learn mixed martial arts and then just go beat people up for no reason. Like that's not.
unless you're John Jones and you're a piece of shit, I got a funny John Jones run-in story. If you want funny celebrity stories, so, I'm talking shit about fucking John Jones, not realizing he's like real close by. Still didn't care, and he's like, anything that a fighter would say of John Jones' nature. He's probably one of the greatest mixed martial artists of all time. But everybody knows he's a world-class piece of shit as far as beating his wife and, just being a hit and run with a pregnant woman. So I say something to him like, yeah, great fighter, bad person out loud. And he's like, this is later on. I have my service dog. And he's like, yeah, your crusty old dog and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, really, John Jones? You're going to talk shit about my old dog? Like, come on, dude. Like, still to this day, a funny, like, dude. And then go straight into, like, you're poor. I make more money, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. Great. But yeah, I mean, I'm not one to throw any stones, but I mean, if you're at that level to where you have people looking at you as an MVP or, a valuable person and looking up to you and that type of thing, and you constantly have run-ins with the law and things like that. I mean, I had a run-in with the DUI and I got my shit together pretty quick after that. So if you're worth millions of dollars and you are having an issue with your moral compass, you probably shouldn't attack people with their money.
Yeah, drinking and driving when you're a millionaire is the stupidest thing. Like at all, first of all, it's dumb, but like you literally have money to take an Uber to drive, to have someone drive you, to pay for a driver all the time. Like
I never want to drive. I'm like, yo, if I could go get out and get shit faced and somebody drive for me, that'd be fucking awesome.
You mean I can sit in the back and just smoke weed?
Literally. I was just talking about that the other day with someone. Like, I would love to like party or not party, but smoke and, you know, have a fucking Escalade with a driver around all the time. Like, I mean, you don't have to kill your social life. You just do it the right way. That's a really good point. But yeah, I mean, those people should. NFL players, you see it all the time happen. How the fuck are you getting a DUI, dude? You got more money in your pocket than I do got in savings. So it's like, why can't you get a driver? I'm sure the team will give you one too. So yeah, I agree.
Well, yeah, because that's the other part of it, right? Is people that are that rich don't even have to rely on their own dime for a driver. We got 90 different companies that'll send them a driver at any given moment.
You don't get free shit until you're rich enough to get free shit, right? Is that the
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, let's talk about some other aspects of therapy that you advocate for veterans and just people in general with PTSD. Let's talk about drugs, psychedelics.
Hell yeah, brother.
it's the new great frontier. That's what everybody's paying attention to now. You know, but I believe that there is some sort of something to that footing. Well, the shit we've been doing before hasn't been working. So yeah, go ahead and cut off your introduction there. I was
No. I guess the only question I have is what kind of what therapies do you think um, have you seen be effective or that you're fascinated by, and what's kind of been your experience with working with psychedelics and other drugs for PTSD?
well, the shit from Pfizer doesn't work for anyone. So let me tell you personally, yeah, SSRIs and that type of shit. Um, if you see the drug company commercials on the news channel you're watching, their stuff isn't gonna work because if you notice, you watch Fox News or CNN, it's you know drug company commercials.
Do you have asthma? Take this drug. May cause shortness of breath.
Then that's the thing, you see, and we can all memorize those drug commercials because they're played so much on TV that it's almost like McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Pfizer. You can name those big companies who are also responsible for the opioid epidemic or epidemic, whatever. Paid money, got out. And then guess what? They're now making the COVID shots for everybody. So funny how that works, right?
Yeah, it's fine. It's all fine.
It's all for our benefit, Ty.
But don't ask any questions, we'll cancel you.
Dun, 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 dun.
I just don't think pharmaceutical stuff works. I mean, I think anything that's changing brain chemistry, that's something I'm kind of struggling with right now is like, hey, do you take the short-term option of medication or do you work on talk therapy and psychedelics and things like that? Because if you're having current issues in your life, that issue of I want it fixed right now is the main problem. I'm not looking at the long term of do I want to be a better person as a whole? Like, no, that girl just dumped me. I'm feeling real down. Okay, my PTSD and everything else is making the world feel like it's going to end. So, do I want to work on what happened in the military or do I want to work, or do I need to just go on medication so I don't have to work on it at all? So I think psychedelics kind of offer you a sort of a little bit of a temporary reprieve, but also can change brain chemistry a little bit. Recalling memories in a positive light in your brain, whereas they would have activated your central nervous system, fight or flight, made you freak out before. Now you're high as fuck and euphoric, and I say that lightly, in a therapeutic state. And you're feeling good, and you're thinking about that shit that really was trauma to you before, and then now you're like, there's a little bit of like release there. You can think about it without it bringing up all those feelings. So
Yeah, my understanding is it allows you to get outside of it, or at least that's how it's been described, and with other people that have talked about it, where it becomes almost like you're watching it on a screen as opposed to it being in it, and then you're able to like assess it, right? Like you're able to understand it from an kind of an outside perspective, and
Well, what are your guys's experience with psychedelics? You know,
hey man, I mean, hey, Mr. FBI, I do nothing. All right.
Mushrooms, DMT, stuff like that has changed my life. Definitely changed my life.
ego, man, takes your ego out of it.
I actually it's probably controversial, but I don't believe in ego death.
Really?
Yeah, I think that ego death is like a temporary personal thing, but I don't actually believe that it like I don't know that it's a long-term thing. I don't know that how like real it is.
Oh, it's definitely not. It takes your ego out of like thinking at that time. Maybe reframe your thinking to think a little outside your ego so that you're not always in that ego. But yeah, humans are selfish assholes. I'm a selfish asshole. I mean, we're just humans by nature. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, I really want to hear your story. Like, I like people's shrooms and psychedelic story. I feel like everyone has one. Say it into the mic, you know, the undercover, you know.
I've done DMT in an isolation chamber and met mech elves. So like yeah.
Did you see elves? I keep hearing the elves story.
Yeah, mech elves, bro. They were in like mechanical suits.
That's crazy. How does everyone see it? How does everyone see it?
This is the point, right? It's like and I did that not knowing about that. Like when I went into the isolation chamber, I didn't ever hear about mech elves or anything. Only afterwards, when I came out and like did more research, I was like, oh shit, like this is everybody's story. What the fuck?
Matrix level stuff right there.
NHI, man, maybe that's what it is.
So yeah, so I've done isolation chambers are pretty awesome. The keeping that water at like they keep it exactly 98, and then they fill it with saline. You know, so you're like you don't know where your body ends and your skin begins. So then you can't see anything. So you're just like floating there in space. I don't know if I'd want to do an isolation chamber on psychedelics. That sounds like a little bit of a
Bro, it was a journey. It was a journey.
yeah. I can imagine. Yeah, that's crazy. So you like it was good. It was good for you though.
It was great. The only thing that bothers me is still to this day, I don't remember what they said. The only thing I remember is the last thing they said, which was you'll remember when you need to remember. And so I just keep thinking like, well, when do I need to remember?
When you need to remember.
I may have already remembered, bro. I may have already remembered. I just don't know that they said it.
Yeah, that's you know, and I think everyone has that type of you know. So my first one was with my dog outside of the military, after the military, in camping. So like ate some shrooms, was out in the wilderness with Zuma, my service dog, and it was just like it was euphoric at first, and then of course your brain takes over and you start thinking about things, and I feel like you're able to sort of process things a little bit more slowly. Like you said, I don't know if I like that term of it. You know, I can see where people might feel like that, but I don't ever feel like it's outside of me. I just feel like,
Yeah, like I've never had an outer body experience either.
oh, so that was your first time psychedelic experience?
No, like I've never had like an outer body where like I can zoom out and look at what's happening. It's always from my perspective.
I mean, I like to think as like a human, you know, if you ever gone in the mirror and been looked at yourself and been like, damn, I'm really up in this bitch. Like I am fucking conscious. I am here in life. This is me.
You ever looked in the mirror on mushrooms?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I'll have to try that next time.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you something.
That sounds like a terrible idea, though.
Yes, only do it if you have a strong frame of mind at the moment, because if you don't, like your face melts and stuff. And so it could be jarring for people.
I've seen worse images than my own face melting. So
My favorite is when my favorite experience in looking in the mirror. I think I was tripping on acid. It was the first time I was taking acid, and I looked in the mirror, and my eye was like the Milky Way galaxy around my pupil. Like, my eye was the iris of my eye was, like, spiraling around my pupil, and I'm like, "Whoa, what the hell?" And then I left because I was like, "I don't wanna see anything else after that, I'm gonna."
Bro, I kept going back to the mirror, and then I'd leave the bathroom, and my buddies were in the living room playing Street Fighter, and like they were also on mushrooms, so they're like so into the game, they're like becoming the characters. One of my buddies like just repeating over and over, "Monster Crush, Monster Crush," and then so I'd like leave them and I'd go into the bathroom. I'm like, "Oh shit, I can't be in here either. My face is melting." Like, I don't know where to go.
Yeah, I thought I was in like a snow globe at first. Like that was my sort of. I was like, "Holy shit, we're in a fucking snow globe!" Like that's what Earth is. It's a fucking snow globe. Like I'm thinking like I can see glass. Like I figured it out. Like seemed like a great time at the moment.
What if you did figure it out?
Could be a simulation. I was just listening to Neil deGrasse Tyson on Diary of a CEO podcast the other day. I love him, Cosmos, all that. Neil deGrasse Tyson. I think anytime you're feeling trauma or you're in some, you need to think about the galaxy as a fucking big ass place, man. Like, I think it helps.
I hate that guy.
I don't know how you can hate him, man. He's like genuinely like just a.
He was a COVID warrior and all that, but I think if he just sticks to, like, the science, or I don't know, but, I mean,
I think everybody moving outside, maybe they're just trying to get more views or clicks now, but I think they bait him into a lot of those questions too. Like they ask him about science and God and that type of thing. So and then they frame him as anti-Christian. So I mean, and really he's just.
I mean, listen, as a Christian, that's not why I hate him. To be honest with you, it's not. It has nothing to, because I didn't like him. Like, because I feel like becoming a Christian is the final level of a conspiracy theorist, right? So I haven't liked him from the beginning.
Turn to religion, man. That's when you know it's all over. Everyone, there's a saying in the military: "There's no atheists in foxholes, man. Those bullets start flying, and then as soon as you're in trouble, please, God, please, help, God, if you listening, help."
yeah, when that turbulence kicks in on that jet.
Well, what did Andrew Schultz say about that? He goes, "When I go flying, I go into the duty free to see who's buying." It's like one of these science books that, and he's like, "Son, I make sure to buy 2 Bibles for every book just about." But yeah, the funny thing is with like religion and stuff, bros, I didn't find it through like, I went through addiction, I went through all kinds of this stuff, and I never found religion. I found it through academic study.
You think your addiction was rooted in some sort of trauma? Now you're on my couch.
100%. 100%, brother.
I mean, I think everybody. And that's one thing I think. Well, I know for a fact, just based on my things and knowing what I know about everything, goes back to childhood, man. I think everybody's issues right now these days, back to your childhood. You got attachment issues, you got abandonment issues, you got, did your mom leave you too long at daycare? I mean, it really doesn't take one. Or was your dad a little bit meaner, or was he gone? Like, I mean, I don't know anybody that doesn't have issues. all my friends. All my friends are crazies. Even in religion, people I know at the church, they all had something drawn together.
Yeah, I mean, I sometimes wonder if it's just, 'cause I don't know, we live in a culture now where therapy is I feel like there's 2 sides of this thing, right? On the one hand, there's, like, mental health. It's like, we're aware of it now. We recognize it now. It's in the culture, and I think on some level, that's a good thing. It's like, okay, you have physical health, you have spiritual health, you have all these things. Okay, mental health, that's part of it, and your spiritual health.
We have no idea what it is though, bro. This is the problem, is we recognize it by calling everything mental health, right? But we have no understanding of it. Like this is why I'm on board with like the psychedelic therapy. Because I don't think we understand these traumas like as much as we think.
I think it really just lies on each person individually to understand it themselves within themselves, and it's very hard for us to try to generalize something like that.
Self-awareness is the hardest thing, I think, for anyone. And when I say a lot of these things, I say it from a first person point of view, because if I've had issue, like, I have an addictive personality. I could have easily been racked on heroin by now, big time. Like, but am I predisposition to that based on my family? Probably. Have I held it long? I know never to go down that road. Like, yeah, my parents did a pretty good job. Anybody can go down that road, man. Like, and really, like you said, religion is the last ditch effort of, I hate to say it, but that's kind of like, it's like letting go, like faith. You can live by faith or you can live by fear. Which one is it? So when I say people are like, oh, I don't believe in God, then what do you believe in, man? Like, who the fuck made that Milky Way galaxy in his eye? Wasn't me.
This is what got me, right? For me, it wasn't addiction. It wasn't whatever. It was studying like the metaphysics of the universe. How are things possible? Like, what is the likelihood that we just are here by accident? How many accidents have to happen in order for us to get here, right? And so when you start studying those things, you start realizing like there's a metaphysical necessity for God. And then once you accept that there is a metaphysical necessity for God, then you try to figure out what's the God that we currently like know of that has the highest explanatory power, right? And for me, that would be the Christian God.
I agree. I agree with you. I'll keep my own sort of religion out of bias, but I've met some. But also to tell you, for myself, and I think everyone, I've met some awesome Arabic Islamic people. I met awesome and to think they're not going to some place of paradise because they don't subscribe to is asinine. And that's just,
well, that's a very Western Christian thing, right? Because like the Christian people for like ancient Christians have always said, like, I don't even know if I'm going to heaven. How can I tell you if you're going to heaven, bro? Like, I got to work out my salvation. I can never tell you, oh, because you're this, you have no connection to God. That's between you and God.
and religion's hard for me too. Is a lot of people that tried to kill me and my friends because of religion. So, we've been at war, killing people for millions of years since human, and mostly because of religion. The war on terror is more of an attack on Western society, but Christian values, they want to live by Sharia law. So, I mean, is religion the answer? Yeah. Is it the problem? Yeah. Yeah. Is your religion better than mine? Probably not. But if you use religion to make extremes into anything, or be mean or kind or hurt people, then you're doing the whole religion thing wrong. That's my opinion of it. Like, if you're judging people, like, I go to 1122 church here in Jacksonville. It's pretty awesome. They're they don't say or marginalize anybody. They're like, hey, you got a problem with gender, we're still here for you, man. Like, come talk to.
Jesus would have done the same. Jesus would never tell you, hey, bro, you have a problem, don't come here. It's come to me as you are. I'll help you. You know what I mean? So
It's the Indian religion I don't get, man. Like, why y'all got 800 gods, and why are they?
Hey, don't look at me, man. I'm the heathen. I'm the godless heathen here of this operation. Apparently,
he's former Christian Light, bro. He's former Christian Light. He was Seventh-day Adventist.
Also know great Hindu people. I met great people from all walks of life. So to me, there's only, the only religion people need are you a good person or a bad person? Even that's subjective. Throw you another.
I'd say 90% of the things probably are. That's the other problem. It's like 9% of the shit, 95% of the things we probably agree on. Like, the 10 Commandments is a pretty good guide. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can follow 10 Commandments and Golden Rule and be all right. I mean,
listen, depending on which religion we're talking about, and I don't want to get too deep into it, but that, even if it's 2%, that 2% is massive. Like, You can agree with 98%, and then like 2% is like, but we marry 3-year-olds. I'm good, bro. We don't, you know what I'm saying? We don't believe the same thing anymore, bro. You know what I mean?
But yeah, I mean, that's where I go in extremism. I mean, there's Christians using it right now to like push Nazi propaganda and shit. Like, can't can't be Semitic. It can't be. There can't be any hate in anything that you're doing if you're gonna say religion, because I think that's the idea of religion: moral compass and yeah, and being nice to each other. Foreign concept, right?
Well, again, you can hate ideologies, but you're not supposed to hate people.
Oh, I definitely hate people. I think we're the scourge of the earth. We're the real pandemic. I say this jokingly, but I think we all, on some level, hate ourselves, and that's where we judge others. Is we see that and we want to like hate on that. So yeah, I think getting hate out of your heart is the biggest thing. Look at me, I'm a flip flop wearing hippie now, smoking weed. So if you would have seen me 10 years ago being a fighter and that, you would have never thought that. Or religion. Number one, to answer your question, religion's been huge as part of therapy. That's super important, I think. Go to your local synagogue, your whatever. Just go.
I mean, I think something we could all probably agree on that's a good form of therapy is having a little pup, having a little critter in your life. Where are you at? Is he there?
Yeah, he's passed out. Zuma, yeah, he's out at home. So yeah, Zuma is when I say he saved my life, I say that like truly, like seriously, like probably would not be here. Yeah, Frenchies and Doodles are animals too.
Where's your pup, Deezy?
He's sleeping. It would be hard for me to get a 90-pound dog. So actually, since we're talking about Star Wars, I'll show this. So Boba Fett, Tamora Morrison, got to meet him. So that's Zuma right there,
Wow.
my service dog. So yeah, meet
Yeah, when we
Boba
hung out,
Fett.
you
Good
had
dog.
you had Zuma there with you, and got
Mhm.
Whoa, OnlyFans going on, DZ.
Deezy fans
Oh,
right out
there's the
here.
dog passed out.
Oh,
See, that's what I don't want to give y'all a peek into my dumb. I gotta hide. The strippers and cocaine that are in here right now. So yeah, no, I
strippers
mean
love dogs.
animals, man. Like I said, I just this the only unconditional love you receive. It's not like your ex-girlfriend that you have to pay this and that and blah blah blah. And then if you don't do this or you have a bad day, then she's gonna leave. My dad always says a quote. He says, if you take your wife and put her in the trunk of your car for 10 minutes, and you take your dog and you put it in the trunk car for 10 minutes, which one's going to be happy to see you? It's going to be the dog. Your dog, oh, hey, I was in here without you, hanging out. What the hell? Your wife's going to want to like put a bullet in your head, you know?
So, by the way, I don't know if you can tell, this is not a normal Frenchie. Look at the size of him, bro.
That's a extra large potato.
That's a Frenchie that's Americanized right there.
Yeah, that's a number one biggie size French.
It's actually the opposite. This is an ancient European Frenchie. This is a Bulgarian bloodline.
I mean, I think all humans. That's why when people are like, "Oh, you have a service dog," I'm like, I think everybody's dog is a service dog or a therapy dog. The service dog is specifically trained to help with someone, medically, this and that. But I think all animals. I mean, people live longer. It just teaches you to be like, yeah, Dexter. He's got a middle name, man. Does he have his own Instagram?
He does.
Does he? I don't even know if I'm following Dexter.
I want to go on the record and say I'm not for that, but I think any love we can give our dogs and show them to the world. Yeah. Zuma doesn't have an Instagram. Lacks opposable thumbs, so little my I also am a big fan of The Office.
I don't think I've posted for Dexter in, I don't know, 6 years.
I like it. I'd rather see my entire timeline filled with dogs than I keep forgetting than women who are promoting their OnlyFans. So let me say that politically correct. Yeah.
Hooers.
Or self-promoting. I mean, I'm all for content creators and things like that. Like,
Sure, but a shameless plug is kind of wild on your Instagram. Like, hey guys, don't forget, watch us every day, every Tuesday at 8 p.m.
and there was that trend where they had like Down syndrome face. Like, dude, that's fucked. You're not, religion's not saving you, man. If you're pretending to do Down syndrome face to get your OnlyFans link clicked in there, you're done. Like, I'm sorry. You can't. I saw, and I'm like, God, man, like people just, obviously what I've seen and been through, people, nothing human behavior does shock me anymore. But yeah, I mean, they did that like filter, and I'm like, Jesus, man, like that made Jesus cry, you know. Like, that's how I felt. I'm like, dude, what are we doing here? Like, we're so lost. And I feel like a lot of the podcasts that I listen to are sitting here saying the same things that I'm now saying. Mental health, we're lost. Social media, but nobody, but we're not doing anything about it. Accountability.
I mean, social media is its own form of addiction. I mean, and I'm totally victim of that and doom scrolling and all that kind of shit. I just sent these guys like 10 memes before bed. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm supposed to go to bed at 1 o'clock and it's 1:45. I'm like, what? I just spent 45 minutes doom scrolling random ass, memes that in no way are sexist or racist or
All of ours are going to be super politically correct.
Have you seen the trend on X? And it's like, I'm not afraid of leaking the group chats, and it's like a picture of Charlie Kirk.
X has gotten even more wild than, I mean, that is like the wild, wild west. But I'm all for free speech. I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, people want you, like you want to say social media, but we can all have the ability to power off and go touch grass. All of us do. So nobody is making us do any of that or
And you're offended for things you don't care about. Like, let's be clear. Most people are offended for things they don't care about. It's like, oh, now I care because you said it. Oh my God. But like, you went looking for it.
I want to talk about touching grass. Is maybe this is the last thing we kind of touch on. Yeah, because when we were talking, you're saying one of the most important things that you feel for therapy, with people with PTSD or in general, is to just turn off the computer and get out in nature. And you feel that there should be more of that that's actually supported officially in official channels, at least in terms of saying to veterans, hey, like get out in nature, have programs for getting out in nature. Can you speak on that, and why do you think that is? What is it about being out in nature in the wilderness that is therapeutic?
let me use Star Wars to that. I mean, the Force, man, like the midichlorians, the energy of everything. Like, have you ever been through number one, vitamin D is shown to just help everything. COVID's a very good example of that. Just nature. I mean, just realizing that you're a human being and you are not the shit. You are not. I think that's the biggest thing fighters learn is you can be beat up or killed at any time. I think having that, finality of there's always somebody better than me is different than most people who throw a tantrum in the Starbucks line as my latte is taking too long. Yeah, no, I mean the nature. It's just and it's beautiful. I mean, you got it. That's when you really look at the creator of like somebody had to make this. This is not an accident. This is not a coincidence that there's things out here that look like this and that there's animals and there's everyone in their own world doing their own thing. Yeah, it's peaceful too. You don't hear thoughts. There's no agenda. There's nobody pushing Christianity on you. I mean, there's just Bible sales. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm going out in nature after this show.
I actually have prayer books and Bibles and catechisms for sale if you need.
No, I mean, I'm like I said, religion for me is super important. Community and nature, I think, is the other thing. And officially channels, I think people getting out in nature together. I think having a good fucking conversation. Maybe I just had an idea for a podcast. Go for a walk on a hike, and then talk the entire. Since you like to stand during podcasts,
Yeah.
just
I should go out in nature and do this podcast. What am I doing?
I mean,
Bro,
I'm
you
literally
should-
in the
you should
closet.
start a
I mean, all right.
show called
I gotta get out of this
Going for a
closet and
Hike
go to nature.
with Ravine.
I
Take a
wanted to
hike
say a
with
closet
Ravine.
joke, but I'm being in trouble for that. All my friends, shout
We've
out
already
to
made all of them.
my gay friends. They know.
Let's
$20
walk
is
about it.
$20, so. Yeah, no, I mean nature,
walk
man.
about
Just
it.
Let's
Let's
camping.
walk about it.
Yeah, walk about it. There you go. I'm writing
Let's
that
walk
down.
about it.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah, it's just beautiful. Like there's, and here we have Florida. We have the springs, and
Yeah.
you can go camping by the springs and the water, the ocean. I mean, the beach. There's a reason why nature sounds are like on, Spotify calming playlists and everything like that. Because it drowns out the noise in your own head. We all have that noise in there. If you listen to it, it'll tell you bad shit. One more Star Wars quote I'll add.
Yeah, let's conclude it with
one more
something.
Star Wars quote. That's my favorite. Is when episode 1, when Anakin's being Mr. Negative, and Qui-Gon says to him, "Be mindful of your thoughts, Anakin. They will betray you." And I think all of us, have those thoughts that just like, dude, why the fuck are you telling me that? I'm not talking about intrusive thoughts, like negative self-deprecating thoughts.
Yeah.
I mean, in a serious word, yeah. But yeah, be mindful of your thoughts, like how you talk to yourself and what you do. I think Qui-Gon had it straight down right there. Is just balance and trust. Yeah, that's my favorite Star Wars quote by episode 1. Also, my favorite, long shot.
That's perfect, man. I think that's a perfect place to conclude this amazing interview. Before we go, we like to toast
Tangents.
the goats on this show.
Tangents. Yeah.
Cheers to you,
cheers.
Ty.
Cheers.
Thank you for coming on the Goat Show. You're a goat.
I'm a rambler all the time. So yeah, but people like to hear me, and then I'm like, well, I don't want to be the guy talking, and then people are like, well, we want to hear you talk, and I'm like,
yeah,
I
man.
want to talk.
Yeah,
brought you here to talk,
a
brother?
lot. That's like, shit.
Yeah. No, this is great. This is fantastic. For anybody out there watching, if you are on the gram, check out warrior_Ty. Follow Ty there. Do you have some things coming up, Ty, that you want to let the people know about, or?
I just want to let the people know, just go fucking help somebody, man. Like anything. I promise it's going to make you feel better, and it's going to make them feel better. Because that one day they don't feel seen, and you say that thing about them having a nice shirt, and they're like, oh, I have a nice shirt. That can change somebody's trajectory for a fucking long fucking time. People don't realize how little those type of things are. So, yes, I have things coming up, but I just would like everyone to just be a little bit fucking nicer to everyone else. Just try, just a little bit. Be a little bit more Christian.
Amen.
I know that. My mom is really good about that. So, yeah, no, I mean, go to church, go to synagogue, go to this and that, go volunteer, do some shit, man. Like, help each other. Like, don't go to the fucking rave. Go volunteer. Don't go.
If you go to the rave, just be standing there. All right. You jump around. You grab your friend. Make it a happy moment. All right.
Yeah. Don't let me be
religious
Mr. Negative over here. Conversation. Great conversation.
Cool, man. Well, listen. Thank you so much for being on the show.
I wish you would have talked more, though. You're like, oh, did I talk enough?
Yeah. Yeah, man, this is amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and maybe we'll have you back soon. We'll see. Fresh, before we head on out of here, what do the people at home got to do other than help their fellow man or woman?
You got to like, subscribe, hit the bell, drop a comment, and seriously, go help somebody.
Well, that's it. I really hope you enjoyed it. We had a ball making it. Thank you very much.